Our video today is going to cover 3D, or what we call solid objects. These are a list of all of the objects that we're going to talk about in this, so you can write them down now or you can write them down as they come up on the screen, as we'll go through each individually to show you how to identify them. So different parts of a 3D object which makes it unique. There are three of them. You have vertices, which are the corners of the object. You have edges, which are the purple lines. So it's the edge of the table or edge of your book. And faces, which is the front, the top, the sides, the bottom, and back and front. And these are basically the sides of the object that makes it into a three-dimensional figure. So our first one that we have is what we call a cube. Cube is basically made up of all sides of a square. So we know that all sides are equal because that's the definition of a square, is all sides are equal. All angles are 90 degrees. So when we work on these, it's pretty easy to identify this because, again, they're going to look all the same. So a rectangular prism, when we talk about a prism is a three-dimensional object. So what we're looking for now is we're looking for what is the base to identify these. And in this case, it's a rectangle. Okay? The sides might also be a rectangle, or they could be a square depending on the shapes of them, but we're looking at what it sits on as the base of the object. So all of the sides are rectangles. The sides at the ends, left and right, could be squares like I said, but all your angles are 90 degrees. Triangular prisms, again, we're looking for what the base is. So the base of this would be a triangle. So you have two of them, followed by three rectangles for the sides of that object. When we get into pyramids, pyramids are different than prisms. Pyramids there's a specific base, as you can see here, and they come to a point coming out of the vertices of that base to one central point. And that's the difference between a prism and a pyramid. So how we identify a pyramid is strictly by its base. What is the base look like? If it's the same sides, it's going to be a square pyramid. If it's in this case, a rectangle, it's a rectangular pyramid. And then all of the sides are all triangles. So again, triangular pyramid, we're looking at the base being a triangle. So in this case, everything is a triangle because you have a triangle for the base and a triangle for the sides of this object. For a cone, your base is a circle. So if you think of a sugar cone that you get ice cream in, this is what you're looking at in regards to a cone. And most of the time they're drawn in this fashion. A rectangle, or excuse me, a cylinder is simply a rectangle that's basically rolled up on itself. So if you take a piece of paper and you roll it and make a cylinder, you have the two tops being circles, and the rest of it, if you cut it and lay it flat, it would again be a rectangle. And the last one is our sphere. So basically a ball, a globe. A three-dimensional circular object is what a sphere is. And we'll work more with these later on in the next coming sections. So in this section, what they're going to ask you to do is, if we were to slice the object, let's say in half or in parts, and we assume that it's perpendicular, and perpendicular is a 90-degree angle. So we're looking at, does this object get sliced in that, or does sometimes they get sliced through the vertices? In this case, we're looking at a cylinder. We'll talk about that more when we get to something that has vertices. Cylinders don't. So if we were to slice this and look at where the slice of this would be in regards to where that gray shape that intersects it looks like, what you have is, again, another circle. So we're looking at trying to figure out if we slice it certain ways, what does the object that is created from that slicing look like? So basically it's a lot of visual of seeing what can you see as a part of where it gets sliced in the object. So we have two pyramids here. We have a rectangular, or you could say a square, depending on, there's no numbers given to it in the first example up here. And that is, if we slice it with the blue piece of paper, what does the object inside of this look like? Well, if we look at it, it looks similar to a square. So this one's kind of tricky because depending on where they slice it in regards to the depth of it, it could be a rectangle depending on where it's at for that. But most of it, it's going to represent the base of that object. So if we look at the bottom one here, we have a triangular pyramid. So if we look at the shading here where it's cutting it, you can notice that, yes, it's going to be a triangular triangular shape. So we have a triangular prism. So if again you look at where this object is being cut at and what the shape that it creates is, it's going to be a triangle. Same with down here, if we look at our rectangular prism, where that cuts through, it's going to look like a rectangle. So again, it's a lot of visual in what you're trying to identify going through with this. So this is a pretty basic video of identifying solids, and if we cut them in half or slice them perpendicular to the object or to a vertice, you're looking at what shape is created and how to identify them in this little section.